presenting briefly on the tax treatment of gambling winnings and losses. And please be aware that these rules apply to casual gamblers only, and there's separate rules and ways of reporting winnings and losses for a taxpayer who could claim gambling as a trade or business. First, I will talk about gambling winnings. Gambling winnings are always taxable income. They include but are not limited to winnings from raffles, lotteries, casinos, horse and dog races, card games, and the fair market value of prizes. The full amount of gambling winnings is reported as other income on line 21 on Form 1040. And I emphasize the full amount because a taxpayer cannot reduce his or her gambling winnings by his or her gambling losses and report the difference. Now I will go on to talk about the treatment of gambling losses. Per Code Section 165D, losses from wagering transactions shall be allowed only to the extent of the gains from such transactions. In other words, a taxpayer cannot deduct losses in excess of his or her winnings. Losses are deducted on line 28 of Schedule A, Form 1040. Gambling losses are considered a miscellaneous itemized deduction not subject to the 2% of AGI limit. And as a result of reporting gambling losses on the Schedule A taxpayer cannot take the standard deduction and still deduct his gambling losses. So in order to claim a deduction for gambling losses, accurate record keeping is required. Taxpayers must keep an accurate diary or similar record of their losses and their winnings. And the diary should contain at least the following information: the date and the type of wager or wagering activity, the name and address of the gambling establishment, the names of the people present with you, and the amount you won or lost. So in addition to this diary or this log that taxpayers must keep, the taxpayer should also have other documentation, perhaps a W-2G for certain gambling winnings, a canceled check, a receipt, a ticket, or some other record that shows the amount of both your winnings and your losses. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. Section 165D refers to gains and losses in terms of wagering transactions. The statute uses the plural term transactions, implying that gain or loss may be calculated over a series of separate plays or wagers. In order to calculate the gain or loss, the gambler would have to track each wager as a separate transaction. To do this, the amount of income from that winning bet or wager is the full amount of the winnings less the cost of placing that winning bet or wager. And you net winnings against amounts wagered for that session, which could be multiple transactions. So no court cases have defined the requirements of what constitutes a session, and the IRS has no clear ruling on the matter. They have said, however, that to help determine the beginning and ending of a session, consider the time, place, and activity. We will go on to an example next, and that will hopefully help demonstrate what a session is and how to net and determine a gain or a loss per wager, and also the example shows what a wager log or this diary should also look like. Okay, so here's an example to demonstrate what is a session. Nancy plays slot machines 2 days in a row at Black Oak Casino. She has played 2 sessions based on time. So the next fact pattern, Nancy plays slot machines at 2 different casinos in the same day. So one might think that based on time, she only has 1 session because she played in the same day. However, she still has played 2 sessions based on place. So this example shows how time is not the controlling factor. There's also the place and the activity that help determine what is a session and the beginning and the ending of a session. So below on the slide, I have an example of a wagering logbook, and This shows how each wager is tracked as a separate transaction based on a session, and she has calculated her gain or her loss per session. So what would be reported on line 21 as other income on Form 1040 for gambling winnings? Not $4,000. That is the amount that that's what she overall realized. However, the net gain, because she can net her winnings against amounts wagered for that session to get to the amount of income or loss. So here she would report $1,100 on line 21 on Form 1040 and not the full $4,000. And here's a list of the sources I used. Thank you.